Hello, everybody. It's Coach Sands here. Happy Friday. Even though it's been a short week, super happy that it's Friday. I hope you're all keeping warm. I was just saying now, it is so cold. I haven't even been able to take off my big top layer. I think there's 5 layers in total, but hope everyone's keeping warm. I think the weekend's going to be a little bit chilly as well. So speaking of weekends, we've got quite an interesting topic. I'm hoping this is going to be a lot of Q&A, but I know not everybody can make it at this time and watch it sort of in playback mode. But I hope a few people are here. Please swipe in and say hi. I want this to be interactive. I've got a couple of slides that I'll share first of all. But I think this is such a topical subject and it's relevant to all of us, including myself. Often the weekends are very challenging, whether it's because you have more of a social life or because the kids are around. That's normally my reason. Social life doesn't happen much anymore. But whatever the reason is, let's discuss it and let's come up with strategies to sort of overcome it. And it seriously is relevant to everybody. Hello, Coach Lauren, lovely to see you. Hi, Karen, Karika, great. Okay, so I can see that people are swiping in, so let's get to the nitty-gritty of things. So we've got some time at the end to chat and answer any questions, and we can have generally sort of a discussion. You can give me your opinions as well. That would be really great. Okay, so if we have a look, and thank you to Coach Tony for these slides as well. Took it from an Instagram post, but just thought so relevant. All right, so I think often we're all in the same boat. We stay on track Monday to Friday. There's a particular routine. We sort of robot mode, and things are a lot easier. And then come the weekend, because we're not necessarily working or not working as hard in terms of jobs. I know we continue to work as parents over the weekend, even more so. But because it's a change of pace, a change in routine, often that reflects in what we're eating as well. And to be honest, it's not always a bad thing. I think a change of pace, a change of routine is a really good thing. Otherwise, we just go, eventually motivation becomes a little bit of a problem. But now, just to put it into a bit of perspective, and I hope you can see this slide. It might be a little bit small, so I'll talk you through it. But if you see the green bars in the graph, that's sort of your typical Monday to Thursday. For example, here it's like about an 1,800 calorie diet, and that's worked out specifically for you because we're looking at weight loss potentially. And in order to get weight loss, sort of what we learn at dietitian school is that you want to have a deficit of at least 500 calories on average per day. So over a week's period, you want the average to be 500 calories less than what your body requires per day. And if you do that, you'll be looking at about half to a kilogram of weight loss a week. And that's a healthy approach. So now you can see then, you can probably quickly do the maths. If Friday, Saturday, and Sunday are slightly higher than the average, and you'll see there's a pink line that indicates calories burned. So you can see you're significantly higher than that in the red bars, which means you're actually you're definitely storing more than you're burning. Now, if you did a quick bit of maths, you'll see that if you calculate all the calories over that 7-day period, your average is actually above what you need to get that weight loss. So you're looking at more like just over 2,000 calories, whereas what you need is 1,800 calories to get that weight loss happening, 1,800 calories on average per day. So you can see how just a little weekend can definitely upset things quite significantly. And you work so hard during the week, and then just sort of a weekend or 3 days that consistently happens like that can definitely mix things up a little bit and slow your progress. Okay, so I've mentioned all of that, just sort of reiterating what I've just said. But that said, and you'll find anybody who's a client of mine, I'm a firm believer in treats. And I think you do need to mix it up a bit, and you do need to get the feel-good hormones that come with some of the classically treat-like foods. If you know me at all, you'll know chocolate is my thing. You'll see my eyes sparkled a little bit there. So we just need to come up with strategies as to prevent me, for example, or you, if chocolate's your thing, from eating chocolate every single day, all day. Because when it's a food like that, if you were to store it at home, if you were to buy in bulk and save, I promise you, if it was me, I know I shouldn't, but I would be eating chocolate probably every 2 hours. So you need to be clever about it. Nobody has a strong enough mind, I think, consistently to be able to avoid their favorite foods if they're staring at them in their face. But we'll chat more about that now. I just want to paint a few pictures, and I love these slides that Tony put together. We often classify foods as good or bad, or treat versus cheat. I absolutely hate the word cheat because it sounds like you're doing something naughty, as bad would sound like as well. And to be honest, I mean, the feel-good hormones that I get from eating some chocolate is fantastic. There's nothing negative about it. Obviously, it becomes negative if it spirals out of control. But you need to almost change your mindset a little bit. And this will probably resonate with a few of my clients as well. You need to actually accept those not necessarily so nutritious foods as treat foods, not as cheat. Because as soon as it's a cheat, there's a huge negative emotion that comes with that. There's guilt, there's disgust, and it ends up spiraling. So instead of actually getting some feel-good hormones, which is the whole idea behind a treat, you end up getting some horribly negative emotions, and it becomes a mind game. So I'm hoping that showing you some of these pictures as well will show you that there's space for treats. You can still keep within your calorie bracket, having some of the treat foods, but you obviously just need to manage it, and everybody's different. So what works for one person won't necessarily work for another. Okay, so again, I think I've just summarized that slide quite well. But remember, and at Jeff, our whole sort of motto, our model is based on roughly sort of an 80-20% model, 1.5 days, we say, or the equivalent of 1.5 days. You can actually eat foods that are not necessarily going to be 100% nutritious, but they are going to give you some really good, feel-good hormones that are going to add value to your life. And it's important that you find that balance. So 80% of the time, roughly, you want to eat the foods that are actually going to promote good health, going to be able to make you work sort of best level of performance at work, happiest parent as well, not sort of turning into nasty mum because you haven't eaten properly. So I think we all can relate to that. So it's important that 80% of the time at least you are focusing on the good stuff. All right, so just to put it into perspective. So I'm not going to ask you to vote for your favorites here. And I definitely wouldn't ask my children to vote for their favorites either. But you'll see here sort of a peanut butter berry smoothie with lots of healthy ingredients added to the mix versus an Oreo McFlurry, a small. You'll see that they're actually quite comparable in terms of overall calories. So yes, you might feel that having the Kauai maybe you prefer. I mean, I know I actually would go for the peanut butter berry smoothie as opposed to the Oreo McFlurry, but it's individual. And even though it is a treat food and you're not going to get a lot in terms of nutrition from the Oreo McFlurry, if it is one of your treats for the week, embrace it, enjoy it, and make sure you're getting feel-good hormones from it. But you can see the comparison here. From a calorie point of view, they're very, very similar. Okay, another comparison here would be sort of some orange juice versus the Coca-Cola. It's a bit of a swear word in our household, that Coca-Cola. But also, again, similar in calories, but obviously in terms of achieving goals and what you want to get out of it, neither of them are actually great. We often associate orange juice as being, because it comes from the orange, it's naturally a healthier food. But to be honest, I would probably put these two in a similar category in terms of offering nutritional value. I think maybe I'd put the orange juice a little bit higher than the Coca-Cola, just in terms of various aspects and the ingredients list, but not a big difference. All right, then we come to the protein bar and the lunch bar. I know which one of those is my favorite. And again, those two bars are very similar in calories. So if it's calories you're trying to control, but you're really craving a real chocolate, and it's one of your treats, really go for the one that you're going to get the most enjoyment from. Both of these are processed foods, in my mind, would considered a lot of the time as they would both be considered a treat food. For the quantity, for the size of the bar and the calories that you're getting from it, it's definitely, both of them would be a treat food. And if you are going to have a treat food, go with the one that's really going to give you the most feel-good hormones. Right, then another comparison, which is so good to give, is that here you've got the fresh pear versus dried pear, and any dried fruit versus the fresh fruit. You're still getting lots of fiber, but the portions are so difficult to manage. And you feel hard done by if you were just to have sort of a two or one of those. If you used to have one dried pear, I mean, you wouldn't feel like you've got your money's worth at all, really, compared to the whole pear. And that's just something to be aware of as well. And it's a bit of a mind game. But those dried pear halves are so concentrated in calories. Yes, you're still getting a lot of goodness, but you can overdo something good. You can have too much of a good thing as well, as we all know. And it's very difficult to do that when the food that you're eating or the drink that you're drinking is so concentrated in calories. So we call it very calorie dense. it is just so difficult to control portions then. So if somebody's struggling with appetite or they've been sick and there's a reason why you want to give them foods that are very concentrated or dense in calories because they're struggling to get in the calories, then dried fruit, smoothies juice would all be very good options to have. But for the majority of people where you're trying to actually manage your calories and not go overboard, you want to go for the more wholesome, sort of the whole foods as far as possible, because there it just feels like you're getting more bang for your buck in terms of volume of food, and it fills you up a lot easier. And just on that note as well, it might be slightly off the topic, but often it takes about 20 minutes for you to feel full when you're eating a meal. And something like dried fruit, you can fit in a lot in a 20-minute period, versus something like a big salad or some fruit where there's more bulk, there's more fiber, so you can't actually necessarily eat the equivalent whole fresh pears as you would be able to the dried pears. So that's also something to take into consideration. Just be mindful of that. As soon as it's whole food, you naturally aren't going to eat as much in that 20-minute period where you don't have signals to say that you're full. I often have to say that to my kids and my husband. Say, just wait, you probably don't need seconds, you're probably actually quite full. And it really works. So you need to pace yourself and give yourself time to actually listen to your body's signals. Okay, so the message from all of this is please find a balance, and find a balance that works for you. We classically have said sort of 1.5 days. Let me go back and see what comments are coming through. 1.5 days is what we look at, and for some people that practically works well. Maybe your social life is on the weekends, maybe because of kids, it's easier to do sort of a Friday to a Saturday night. My problem with that sometimes, and it depends on the person, is that you're almost seeing it as a bit of a, well, I must really make up. I've only got from Friday to Saturday night. I must give it my all and make my coach proud or not. And you almost go overboard. It's almost, in some people, it promotes a bit of a binge eating attitude to your free or your treat foods. And in those people, I would recommend that you rather actually split your treats throughout the week. So, for example, I know I've got a few clients who the classic treat is a glass of wine. So maybe you decide it can be spontaneous or it can be planned that on a Wednesday night you're going to have a glass of wine. That would be one treat for the week, and keep track of it. And then maybe on Friday night you get invited out, friends, you're going out for dinners, and typically you wouldn't have starch with dinner, but now you're going to order a meal with starch. You're not going to go overboard in terms of portions. You're still going to be mindful of portions so that calories aren't necessarily much more, but you're going to treat yourself and have a starch where you normally wouldn't. That would count as a second treat. And then maybe on Sunday, there's a birthday party or a special occasion and you want to have a cupcake. Third treat. Maybe there you're having your lunch. Don't skip and don't feel so guilty and bad that you had the cupcake. So skip the entire next meal. That's not what we're wanting at all. I think you can cut down perhaps on the starch component of your next meal because you've had the cupcake, but definitely don't get rid of the goodness that comes. So if you, for example, mid-morning you have your cupcake for whatever reason, still have your lunch, but maybe you're having soup and don't have the bread with the soup, for example. So those are just subtle ways of mixing things up a little bit. But yeah, for me, the biggest message is never ever see those treats or those not so nutritious meals as cheats. As soon as you do that, it's negative. Then you come to the end of the weekend and you feel like an absolute failure. You're filled with guilt, and you actually should be coming with some nice feel-good hormones and saying, wow, I really enjoyed that cupcake. It was really worth it. And often what I find personally, maybe it works for you, maybe it doesn't, but it's the build-up for the treat. So if I know that there's a day, and typically we have it sort of last day of school term, we have pizza, it's a treat for the girls. And on my word, I'm like waiting till the end of the term because I know we're getting pizza. And the build-up, it's almost like with kids and an advent calendar waiting for Christmas. I almost have my own internal advent calendar. It's like one day down, next. And just the feel-good hormones that come from that as well is great. It really is. I mean, when you're looking forward to a good meal or whatever it is, there's a lot of enjoyment that comes from that. So what I'm trying to say there, maybe it's worthwhile planning your treats in the week. So saying, you know what, Friday night, okay, we're going to see Joe Soap. On this day, we're going to do this, and look forward to it rather than sort of dreading the weekend and think, oh, everything's going to go totally out of sync and out of control. I think as soon as you're in control and you're planning it and you're in the driving seat, you'll find it becomes sort of null and void. It's no longer an issue. Okay, I've been talking a lot. Let's go and see some comments. Sorry if I miss out on your comments. There's quite a few coming through. Okay. Yes, so lots of people agree the weekends can be a little bit troublesome. All right, let me see if there's any specific questions. Hello, everybody. So nice to see you all. Hi, Auntie Pat. Lovely seeing you. Hi, Catherine. All right. So, yes, if you are somebody, and I'm seeing here, Esmery, you mentioned sort of binge eating mentality. Definitely, I wouldn't recommend a 1.5 days off on a specific time on a weekend. I don't think that will work at all well for you. I think you would definitely work well with an approach where you say, okay, I can have 3 or 4 treats in the week. My treats are going to be this plan ahead, and do some spontaneous. Maybe 3 of them are planned and 1 is a spontaneous one where you just need that glass of wine or whatever the case is on a specific day and count it as a treat. But the important message here is enjoy it. Get out of it what we intend you to get out of it. And as soon as we also add these treats and you don't feel guilty about it, it's not going to feel like a diet. And I know a lot of you probably know that I'm a dietitian and absolutely hate the word diet. For me, it's the most unfortunate name that I've got, profession. I think it's very restrictive. It feels like you're punishing yourself when you call something a diet. And we want to get out of that mindset. It really isn't. You need to embrace it. You want what you're doing now, you want to be able to do for the months and years that come. And the only way you can do that is if it's not too restrictive. You need to enjoy your food. I mean, food, seriously, there's so many. It provides great nutrition, but also gives you a lot of feel-good hormones. And we don't want you to lose that. Okay. Some people are struggling to get on. Oh dear. So hopefully in the background, someone can help with that. But this you can watch in playback mode afterwards. It will be on the web app. So sorry if you're struggling to get in. Okay. Question. We're going away for a couple's getaway. Oh, how lovely. We usually have treats as pad course. Any great ideas for snacks that work for a road trip? Okay, love that one. Can relate, well, not to the couple's getaway, unfortunately. It's been a while, but can relate to the pad course idea with the kids in the background. So yes, ideas for road trip. There, you don't want to be stopping at the roadsides or the garage or the what's the word I'm looking for? You don't want to stop and get sort of fast foods, and they'll be very tempting. You want to preempt that. You don't want to arrive and fill up with petrol or stop at a restaurant. I can't think of the word I'm trying to use, but you don't want to stop there, quick stop, and have low blood sugar and be hungry, because then you are going to choose all the not so great foods. So you need to almost pack a bit of a snack pack. If you're into baking, you can bake some energy bars, the Jeff energy bars, or some of those Bean and Bran muffins. I know some people have a bit of a love-hate relationship with that particular muffin, but if it works for you, I would prep something like that. Maybe some popcorn for the road trip. Just make sure that you're not arriving at any destination with low blood sugar levels, so that you're ravenously hungry. Because if you walk into and you smell the fast food and in the shop or the restaurant, you're not going to stand a chance. So my message there would be just plan ahead, have some healthy snacks in the car, have some meals in the car as well, so that if you are going to have a bit of pad course that is a treat, you're not going to go overboard. It's not because of hunger that you're going to be eating the treat. It's going to be a planned treat, and you're still in control. I hope that answers your questions. But there's lots of nice snack ideas that you can get on the Jeff library, or you can just search for them there. But things like muffins, I mean, my all-time favorite as well is almonds, sort of raw almonds with some raisins or dried cranberries. Have a little Tupperware that's pretty much always in my bag. And that if you feel that you're getting a little peckish, a little bit hungry, just have a handful, literally a handful of that, and it just takes the edge off as well. And then yes, maybe you're still going to have your treat, but you're not going to go overboard. All right, yay! I'm glad you made it in, Laura. Nice to see you. All right, yes. So the cheat treat thing, really, if you take nothing away from this chat today, please embrace your treats. That's what they are. I don't actually ever want to hear somebody saying it's a cheat. A cheat is so negative. It's a treat, and if it's a treat, it's something positive. And the problem with considering it a cheat is that it spirals. So you think, okay, well, I had my pasta on Friday night, and gosh, I'm the worst person. I have no self-control, and you beat yourself up over and over again. Well, then, may as well have I don't know, the croissant for breakfast as well, and then I may as well have 3 cupcakes for lunch, and it just spirals out of control because you're feeding all these negative emotions, and you just obviously you feel like a failure, you may as well act like a failure. So please get away from that. Whereas if you go into Friday night and say, I'm going to have a pasta, I'm going to have a pizza, and boy, am I going to enjoy it. And I planned it, so it's okay. It'll be a whole different story. You won't wake up on Saturday morning feeling you need to have the croissant or whatever it is, the pancakes. All right. Hello, everybody. Hi, Coach Kim. Great. Glad to hear that, Auntie Pat. It's so important that you consider your treats guilt-free. That there's no point in having them if it's not going to be enjoyed. Not having a glass of wine, Sonia, or 2 on a weekend is hard, but have a glass. Count that as one of your treats then, I would say. I mean, absolutely. Also, the other part that we must remember is you don't want to, it's like, I mean, we're all pretty much still like kids, I think. I know I am. If you say I can't have something, I want it, and I'm going to get it eventually, I'm going to find a way. So don't do that to yourself. Don't say, no, I'm on this weight loss journey. I have to be 100% all the time, or I'm a failure. It's not going to work. It's not going to last. You need to actually be a little easier on yourself and say to yourself, you know what, my thing's wine. My thing is chocolate. But your thing is wine. And you say, all right, on the weekends, this is when I'm going to have my glass of wine, and boy, am I going to enjoy it. Embrace it. Really, really important. All right. Yes, Karika, I'm glad you saw that. It's often, I find also if you illustrate things sort of picture-wise, the message gets across. I remember way back when, many, many years, we did a sort of a food display, I think it was at UCT, when I was a private practicing dietitian. We did all these tables and we showed like a big calorie equivalent amount. So you have like a chocolate and a Coke and packet of crisps, sort of typical student foods in those days. And then you show this massive plate of food with salad and non-starchy vegetables. And people were in shock. I mean, they would just stand at the table and just stare and like, what? So my crisps, chocolate, and drink is actually like with this equivalent of food taking up half the table. And it's such a strong message, actually, that one gets looking at it that way. All right. So anyway, Esmery, enjoy your couple's getaway. I'm seriously jealous. Hopefully we can plan one in the near future as well. All right. Any other questions? Before I carry on talking. Fantastic. So glad that Coach Dax is on the same page in terms of, yes, I think all our coaches are, to be honest. We don't want anyone to feel guilty about eating a treat food. It needs to be embraced. Okay, I'm just having a look and seeing if there's any more. Another question. So we're doing a 10-kilometer hike. I've realized that I'm always packed away too much food calorie-wise. So what's the realistic amount of snacks for a 10-kilometer hike? Okay, so that's a good question, but it's also very, very individual. And it's a bit of a difficult call there. I would say sort of typically when you're on your feet and you're exercising for longer than an hour, you want to have snacks. And I'm assuming 10-kilometer hike, you will be taking more than 1 hour. So yes, they're realistic. I mean, you could literally starch. I put it in starch and protein serving. So what you'd look at is sort of 1 or 2 proteins, and I would say like about 2 starches per hour that you are hiking. So something like if you look in protein, it can be something like biltong. And you could also take along either banana. So sort of typically one banana would be 1 starch serving. If you want to take raisins, because they're probably a bit more practical to take, or dried cranberries, you're looking at like a heaped tablespoon, or closer to 2 tablespoons, sort of a very big tablespoon of raisins. So that's what I would focus for. But again, it's individual. It depends what your goals are as well. But the important thing there is to keep up a good water intake as well. All right. Suzanne, my husband and I have a block of Lindt dark chocolate every night after dinner with our rooibos tea. I nibble at it to make it last, but enjoy it as part. But that's perfect. And you know what? I have so much respect for you, Suzanne, because I can't do that. I can do it if it's 85% chocolate, then I can, because I can't stand 85% chocolate. So it's almost a bit like punishment. But if it's 70% chocolate, and everyone's different again. But if you are able to control it, good for you. But if you're not, if you find that you cannot limit it to 1 block of dark chocolate, my message is do not have chocolate in the house. Definitely not a good idea. It's not like you hopefully will get out of your PJs and go and hunt it down late at night. You're putting yourself on the back foot if you're going to have plentiful supply of foods that you know you find it difficult to control the portion size of. But yes, absolutely, if you can manage the portions, then one block of dark chocolate a night is absolutely fine. Yay, Cornelia, it's so lovely to see you. I'm so excited as well, can't wait. You've had a bit of a tough time, but so good to see that you're back in action. All right, another question here. What do we do if eating out and having something like mince and rice? But mince has peas and carrots, all of it counts as starch. How do I manage these portions? Okay, so there, I think you also need to be a bit flexible there. So if you're eating out and you don't typically have your starch, then count that as a treat. You're adding starch to a meal that you typically wouldn't. So count it as one of your treat meals. That would be my advice. If you're somebody who always has a bit of starch with dinner, then there's no problem, obviously. But yes, that would be and if you're having a glass of wine when you're eating out, then you've got 2 treats. Tick off, and you've got another 2 for the week ahead. So yes, a treat can take the form of, like I said in the beginning, it can be adding starch to a meal that you don't typically add starch to, but you're still keeping the portions under wraps. It could be something like a chocolate. It could be a glass of wine. The important thing is that you don't want, and often clients, especially in the beginning, is that you'll have sort of a treat where you'll go out to spur with the kids or whatever it is on a Saturday, and then you're going to skip meals because you feel so guilty about it. So you're going to skip all your meals, and that's not a good strategy at all. You're always on a weekend, you want to be eating regular meals, just some of the meals, although they're not going to necessarily contribute a whole lot more in terms of calories, they're not going to be the most nutritious meals, but that's okay because 80% of the time you are getting the good stuff. Okay. So Suzanne, how many treats can you have in a week period? So there we'd be looking at sort of 3 to 4 treats. And the treat would be equivalent to a glass of wine or adding a bit of starch. If you're adding starch to dinner and you're eating out, then maybe even make your protein portion slightly smaller so that overall calorie-wise, you're still on track. Cornelia, what can you do to get mind and body ready before you get back into workouts after an injury? So my advice there, Cornelia, is definitely focus on what you can control for the time being. And I think this applies to a lot of clients who've had COVID as well, and they're sort of getting back into the swing of things. You can control nutrition. Yes, sometimes your appetite's not great, you might be feeling nauseous, you might not feel like eating, but you still have control over what you do nutrition-wise. Maybe you need to have a smoothie because your appetite's not great. Maybe if you're nauseous, smaller, bite-sized chunks sort of regularly throughout the day is the answer for you. So the answer to that question, Cornelia, is really focus heavily on getting nutrition under wraps for the time being. Then when you can start exercising again, it's not too many changes at once. Then at least it's not too much of a shock to the system. And you're strengthening everything. You're feeding your body, giving it all the nutrients that it needs. So I would do that. I would really focus heavily on the nutrition side of things until you are able to get back into the exercise. And you mentioned sort of the mind part of things as well. I'm heavily into, or highly recommend, sort of end of each day, take stock of the day. If you've got 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, use the time you've got and just reflect on the day. Often we get to the end of the day and we're just like, oh my goodness, I felt like you've been steamrolled. Think of all the positives. What did you achieve? And maybe for whatever reason, you didn't get your workout in, but maybe other things happened, and don't beat yourself up about it, make up for it at a later stage. So it's so important that you self-reflect at the end of the day. Maybe there are things you could do better, and that's hopefully what us coaches can help you with as well, because sometimes it's difficult to see when you're in the midst of it. But that for me is really important, Cornelia, as well. So just sort of do a bit of self-reflection, focus on the nutrition side of things, get the mindset right, and then when you're ready to get back with your exercise sessions, it will be a whole lot easier. Okay, let me see. Are there any other questions? And not that I'm seeing coming through. I hope I haven't missed out on anything. But I will go, after this talk, I'll go back and see if there's any other questions. I'll answer you direct message if you want as well, if you've got any questions. But lovely chatting. I hope you've got something from this chat. Time always flies by so quickly. But maybe use this weekend. Just challenge yourself. Plan and say, you know what, or plan for the week ahead. These are going to be my treats. And boy, am I going to enjoy them. You're going to look forward to them. And you need to do it. You really do. And I don't want, even keep a bit of a journal on how you're feeling after the treat. But you need to get out of that cycle of guilt, of, oh, I'm disgusting. I couldn't even avoid the chocolate. Plan to have the chocolate. And if you'll find it changes your life, it really does. You're going to get the feel-good hormones that you should be getting from the whole experience. All right, I hope everybody enjoyed the chat. It was lovely to see everybody swiping in. Have a super weekend and keep in touch. Cheers for now. Bye.